Hey, I'm Angie.
And I'm Carly.
And I'm Mason.
And I'm Zach.
And we're here today for another episode of the Food Hero Cooking Show. We are making potato pals. All right, so we know what to do. Let's head to the sink and get those hands scrubbed.
Give them all of that good stuff. Recipes that kids love. It's hard to get enough.
All right, we are clean and ready for action. So, today we are super lucky. Look at these guys. Look at these potatoes. We have some beautiful pink and purple potatoes. Okay, so these are actually called Terra Rosa potatoes. Look at this. I'm going to cut them in half.
Oh, they're so
They're pink inside as well. And look at these purple ones. Oh my goodness. Check this out. Being very careful. Okay.
That's like actual
Beautiful purple inside.
purple.
So, as you know, I work for Oregon State, and I'm lucky enough to work at the Agricultural Research and Extension Center here in Hermiston, and I work with Sagar. You know Sagar, right, Aislinn?
Mm-hmm.
My friend Sagar Sathuvalli. He is actually a potato breeder. So, Dr. Sathuvalli, these are a couple of the varieties he's been working on, and I actually got these from him. They were grown right here where we live, which is super exciting. And today we're actually going to make our Potato Pals recipe with these. So a potato breeder, if you don't know what he does, he takes all different varieties of potatoes and comes up with new varieties that maybe store better or more resistant to disease, or maybe they even have a better nutrient profile, so they might be more nutritious for us. For example, these colored ones, they actually have more pigments in them, which a lot of times is an indication of having more antioxidants, which are good for us. But all potatoes, as we know, have lots of potassium and they have vitamin C. They give us good energy so that we can think at school, right?
Yeah.
And run. Always
around.
running, right? You guys know how much I like to run. Now, the original Potato Pals recipe does call for red potatoes, but you can really use any type of potato you wish. So we're going to mix it up and have some fun with the purple potatoes. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about knife safety here before I let Carly do some cutting. So, what we have here, I've wet this towel. You can see it. I have wet it down and I've put the cutting board on top of that. And what that does actually is that's going to keep our cutting board from sliding around. You see how that keeps it in place? Okay. Because we have this nice Food Hero tablecloth down, which can be kind of slick, or our counters can be slick. But this wet rag, so I wet it down and then I wring it out and put it here, is going to keep our cutting board in place.
It doesn't really move.
No. So now when I first start to cut something, you know, potato is round, it rolls, right? So that's why I cut it in half, because you want to get to flat surfaces as quickly as possible. Okay, flat surfaces are always safer. When you're cutting, of course, you always kind of want to use your knuckles as a guide. Okay, so your knuckles are like this, and your fingers are curled back, just giving some stability. Okay, like that. All right, and then I'll turn it sideways, and we're just going to put these. We don't have to be perfect on these, right? We're just going to kind of dice them up, throw them into our bowl here. And I'll do this one before I let you start working on the pink one. Okay, so again, like that. You see how my fingers are curled back? The tip of the knife is pointing down, okay, like that, cutting away from myself. And when I'm not using the knife, I'm going to place it up here, okay, at the top of the cutting board. Now, suppose that I needed to go over to the sink with a knife. Would I walk over like this?
No, because then you
I would take it and I would put it down at my side and I would walk to the sink. Now, another tip is you never want to leave a knife in a soapy sink. Okay, why do you think that might be?
Because it could slide around, and then if you put your hand in, you could cut your hand.
Yeah, and if the sink was full of water and soap, you might not even know it's in there, right?
Yeah.
So it's really best, get your knife to the sink right when you're done, or the dishwasher, and either wash it right away, or set it somewhere where it's going to be in a safe spot so that you can wash it when you're done. All right, Carly, so I'm going to let you have a turn. So first what we're going to do for both of them, you're going to cut it down the middle, and then we're going to cut about 1-inch dice there, okay? Give or take. We don't have to be perfect. You just want them all about the same size, because if you have some really big pieces and some really small pieces, do you know what's going to happen?
They get unevenly cooked.
Right, so your small ones are going to burn, and then your big ones aren't going to be done. So we have to be more even, okay? So Carly, I'm going to let you try that, and remember, keep the fingers curled back, knife pointed down. Okay, and see when I hand her the knife, I'm going to hand it to her like this. Okay, she's going to get right over here in front of it. I'll switch you spots. Curl those fingers back. There you go.
Good stuff, recipes that kids love.
We're going to set our knife up at the top, like I showed you. Good. And go ahead and throw those in here. All right, and then now it's time for Zach and Aislinn to go to town. Now, for this recipe, for every pound of potatoes, you're going to have a tablespoon of oil, a half teaspoon of salt, and a half teaspoon of garlic, okay? So I have 3 pounds, 3 tablespoons of oil. So Zach, I'm going to let you take the tablespoon, which our tablespoon is our big one, right? Because a table is bigger than a cup of tea, so it's bigger than, tablespoon's bigger than a teaspoon, always. Good. Okay, there's 1. Just drizzle it in. Perfect.
Not to get enough, where healthy food is fun.
Since we're multiplying 1/2 teaspoon of garlic by 3, okay, 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 is how much?
1.5.
1.5. So you're going to do 1.5 teaspoons of garlic.
Food here is fun. Yeah. Being a food hero is fun.
Your hands are clean, right? Okay. So you guys can start mixing with a spoon, and then you can just go ahead and get in there with your hands, and we're going to lay those out on our sheets here. Now, we're going to bake these in a 400-degree oven, which I've already preheated, because before I started, I read the recipe all the way through, because that's always what you do, right? You always read the recipe all the way through before you start. Okay? So our oven is preheated to 400, and they're going to cook for about 20 minutes. It's really going to depend on your oven and the size of your potatoes. Okay, so if you diced them smaller, maybe a little less. If they're larger, maybe a little more. So just check them.
The food here is fun. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to use 2 pans. And again, I use parchment. You don't have to use parchment. Just a regular metal pan works. So we're going to have these with our lunch today, guys. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is Sagar and I partnered last year, and we actually got to try these potatoes out with hundreds and hundreds of school children across the area. And what we found out is they actually love these too. So if you go on the Food Hero website and go to Potato Pals, you will find this recipe, and you'll see that it's kid approved, and that's because we tested it out with, well, we've done it over several years. Probably literally thousands of kids have tried this recipe. And it is kid approved. That means we had them vote on how well they liked it, and they gave this recipe 2 thumbs up. All right, so I'm going to wash my hands and get these in the oven, and then we'll be able to sample them. Sound good? Okay, they're hot out of the oven, and this crew has already started to sample them. A little hot. Yeah, you got to be careful. What do you think, guys?
Nom.
So that's it for another edition of the Food Hero Cooking Show. Check out the Potato Pals recipe at foodhero.org. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Food here is fun. Yeah.